Hi, my name is Mumba Dodwell. I am a freelance director and actor. I'm here with the National Youth Theatre to give you a workshop on devising. And this workshop can be done at home, it can be done in school, it can be done with a class, it can be done both in person or virtually. So it's all up to you. I am going to introduce to you these wonderful members who are helping me out in this workshop. So they're going to be demonstrating the things that you would do and just giving you some ideas in the direction that this work can go in. Would you like to introduce yourself first, Owen?
Yeah, my name is Owen. I did my NYT intake course last summer online, so new member and very excited.
Hi, I'm Genna. I also did the Zoom intake course last year in 2020, so I'm excited to be participating in this workshop as well.
Great, thank you. And again, thank you so much for joining me with this workshop. To start off, as always, it's really important to do a warm-up. So we're going to start with just bringing up some heat on a cold day like this. It's really good to bring some heat to the body. So let's just start by rubbing one arm, getting that heat going. When you're going, rubbing your shoulder, your neck. Great, and just switching to the other arm. Up again into the shoulder. Great. And then just start rubbing your chest, warming up the front of your body, warming up your tummy as well. And by doing this, hopefully also your blood is going to start circulating into your arms because they're doing a lot of work. Making sure that you rub your back. Great, and then just down one of your legs, whichever one. Great, all the way down to your feet. Great, and to the other side. You sort of disappeared from the screen. Great, and then just come back up very gently. And when you're here, great. I can feel that my blood is starting to move and I'm a bit breathless. So let's just start to warm up our shoulders a bit more and just do a few rolls backwards. Really loosening up the shoulders and get your elbows involved as well, like really nice deep bends. And then the other way, so going forwards. Amazing, great. And then just looking from side to side, just getting our necks a bit more warm. Great, and then just imagine you're drawing a circle with your nose. So we're going to draw some circles with our nose, some small circles one way, and they start to get bigger. Great, as big as you can. And now let's reverse the circle. And we start to get smaller. And smaller. Great, good. Let's also, once you arrive there, give your legs a bit of a shake because we've only just given them a rub. Give them a shake. Also, it's good for your balance. Test that out this morning if this is accessible to you. If not, you can shake your legs from where you're sitting, whatever feels good. Amazing. Good. So now let's also take a nice deep breath. I always think that's really nice to take a cleansing breath before we start the work. Really get ourselves out of our head. So even wherever you are, it could be in a seat, it could be standing. Let's take a nice deep breath using our arms, and what we're doing with our arms is basically imagining taking a nice deep breath from our bellies. So that's what you want to do, is you dig deep, take a nice deep breath with your arms, and then reach up to the sky. Yeah, you can follow along, great. Reaching up, reaching up, reaching up. And then letting go. Great, good. Let's do that one more time together. Taking a nice deep breath in from our tummy, filling all the way up, reaching up to the sky, and then letting go. Great, good. Okay, my favorite thing to do is a bit of fetch. And if you are in a classroom, you might play this as a game where you say, touch something green, touch something blue, or find something in the class that reminds you of home. You could do it that way, but in a digital space, I love to play a bit of fetch. So can both of you find something in your space that reminds you of school and bring it to the camera very quickly? What is the quickest thing you can find? Great, good. Yes, very school vibes. Okay, now something else. Find something that reminds you of your close friend as quick as you can. Oh, great. Love it. I like these little, that's really nice. Thank you very much. Okay, find something in your room that best describes you. If you could find anything that we can quickly get a snapshot of who you are. Oh, amazing. Is that a dice? Oh, great. Oh, nice. What's the story behind the dice? How's that best describe you?
It caught my eye just there, and I was thinking, you know what? At the minute, everything is up in the air. So
yeah, great, good. And what about the mug?
I don't know. I just like my favorite object, I'd say, is a mug.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't know. I just associate myself with a mug if I was an object. So
yeah, I feel like a mug gives you so many different things. As they say, tea is a remedy for everything. For a sore tummy, if you're sleepy, it is literally helps you with everything. So a mug brings magic. Great, thank you. Could you find me something that keeps you warm as quick as you can? Something that keeps you warm in your room. Nice. Oh, great. Amazing. Yes. Thank you very much. Find something of your childhood. What is something of your childhood in this space? Oh, great. Classic bear. I love a bit of a bear. Yes. And then, oh my gosh, yes, Charlie and Lola. Such a classic childhood. Really great books. Thank you very much. Okay, last thing. Could you find me a blanket? Find me a blanket or a scarf, anything that you can use to wrap around you. Amazing. And just while I wanted to talk about why you're getting your blankets there, I wanted to add that this workshop as well, just to make it a bit more accessible in terms of fetch, you can draw things near you, or you can bring pictures up to show people if you have pictures on your phone. Just another way to use this game. All right, great. Now, with your blanket, could you give me something and make it look panto? So how would you use your blanket if you were in a pantomime? Something that we missed out on this Christmas. If you make it panto. Oh, great. Yes, I see the witch. There's a lot of poison apples. Great. Could you use it as if you're a clown? So thinking about Mr. Bean or your traditional clown. How would you use your blanket if you're a clown? Yes, a bit of a oh yeah, oh, I thought you were going to disappear, but that's actually very clown-like, not disappearing. Great, yes, amazing. And if you were, could you use your blanket as if you are somewhere in a contemporary theatre? Think the Royal Court or the Donmar or the National, some theatre that creates work that is very now. That is about our lives now, yes. Amazing. I feel like I've seen these plays. I've seen these props in plays. Great, good. Could you lastly do for me is make it Shakespeare? If you were at the RSC or the Globe, how would you interact with this blanket? Or scarf? Yes. Could you think about a line from Shakespeare that you might say with it? Anything, whatever you know, even if it's just, oh.
Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt.
Yes, amazing.
To whom should I complain?
Oh, great, good. Okay, thank you very much. You can put your blankets down to the side, you can leave it, put it across somewhere else. Great, thank you very much for that. Okay, so now we're gonna explore our stimulus. Now we've warmed up and started to jiggle our brain and just think about things in a different way. You look at a stimulus that I have for you that I'm gonna share that we're going to start to look at and generate some ideas. So I'm going to show you this picture and I'm just going to give you a bit of a description of it as well. So here we go. Okay, so you can see this picture. I hope all of you can see this both. Great. So this is a picture from the show The Last Harvest that was taken by Helen Murray, and it was on at the National Youth Theatre. Just to give a bit of a description of the picture, it is two people in a field. And one of them is wearing a bit of a cloak and holding a flare. So it's a bright light, a bright red light, and it's sort of the focal point of the picture. It's pitch black around it, but someone is holding a red light, and there's a bit of smoke from this flare. Just looking at this photo, what do you guys think of? What's coming to mind?
I'm getting vibes. I'm thinking you could either see like some old kind of medieval England kind of witches are brewing kind of thing.
Yes, it's a bit Macbeth-like, isn't it? It's like a bit of a witches, Gaynor.
I think that the light really stands out to me in just sort of this man walking towards like danger.
Yeah.
Or this sense of sort of like giving into it almost.
Yeah. And also just to think about stuff, like when we look at photos or stimuluses, it's really nice to think about what is the temperature? Like, what does it make us feel like? What temperature is that giving you both? As in, like, it could be very literal temperature.
Really, I'd say really hot. Like,
yeah.
Just because I think the color, like I think red and that kind of colors I associate with just warmth and hotness.
Yes, really, really is. And there's also something interesting about, as well as temperature, we can look at texture. There's something quite smooth about the smog, and I mean, the sort of, not smog, what is it? Sort of the cloud, a little cloud that the flare is giving off. And then there's something quite smooth about its light. But when we look at the ground, it's a field that looks like it's been recently harvested. So it's got lots of spiky straw sticking out. That looks like it's a sort of severe haircut. So it's giving us sort of like a rough texture on the ground, isn't it? That's great. And what sort of story do you think the picture's telling? We had a bit of witches. What else is it telling?
The guy that isn't holding the flare, I can't make out whether he's walking away from it or walking to it.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Maybe like a signal.
Yeah, a signal. Yeah. And what also there's no right or wrong answer with a stimulus and what you think. What questions do you think that you have about this photo?
Are they against each other? Are they together?
Yeah.
I'm wondering what the flare is for.
Yeah.
Where are they?
Yeah.
Who's in control?
Yes. Yeah. That's really interesting. Hold on to those questions. I just wanted to ask, just have those come out in the air, because it's a really good starting point for our next exercise. So I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to stop sharing this and I'll share it again in a moment. But what I would really like to do now is to do this exercise of free writing. And free writing is about basically writing for 2 minutes without leaving the pen, leaving the page. And it's about writing and not judging yourself, not worrying about spelling, not worrying about what you're saying. And it's all for you. What you share later on in the workshop is all up to you, but it's for you to do. And if you want to, you can draw. as well, if that's something a bit more accessible, is drawing. If you want to type it out on a computer, that's also great. If you want to voice note it to yourself and have a sort of consciousness of 2 minutes, that's also okay. But the idea is it's basically to write without any judgment of yourself and sort of worrying about the perfection or the imagery that you're writing about. So I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to give you both 2 minutes to write around this picture, asking those questions, answering those questions, just going on a ramble about this picture and using that as our stimulus. Is that all right? Okay, great. I'm going to share it again so you can have it in front of you as you are writing. Here we go. I'm going to get my timer up. I'm going to give you 2 minutes starting now. Got a couple more seconds left. Got 10 seconds. Okay, that's the timer done. Okay, good. Thank you so much for doing that. What I'd really like you to do for this next bit is, there is a phrase that I learned a long time ago, and I'm not quite sure where I picked it up, but it's this idea of the macro and the micro. And what that is basically, as we know, like a microchip, something small, and the macro is sort of the big. So when you look at a that's it, I know where I got it from. Someone was telling me about photography. And so when you look at a photo, you can have the macro, which is the large view, like what is the large image of that? And then the micro is the small ideas in there. So what I'd like you to do is read over your text and find the macros. What are those long sentences and thoughts that sort of encapsulate your thoughts and image around this image? And then the micros are those words. You might say spiky, it might be warm, it might be scared, it might be who. So think about those one words that really sum it up and strike you, that came up, and also the big ideas in there. Like, what are the big ideas and sentences? So I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes, basically around another 2 minutes, to go over that and highlight those words in your text. And if these are things that you don't mind sharing back, that'd be really great, because it'd be good to hear some of your ideas. Just going to give you a couple more seconds on that. Great, and if you could just wrap up there. Great, thank you. It'd be really nice to hear what you would like to share. So Gaynor, why don't we start with you? What did you pick up?
So for like the smaller moments and the micro words that I picked out were red, walking, pulled, point, running, fighting, steps, and dark. And then the macro were darkness, unknowing, fear, power, and intimate.
That's so interesting. I could already start to see like themes arising in yours about someone. It feels like someone who is who's on a journey somewhere, trying to get away from something. That's really interesting. I'm really starting to picture that. Thank you so much for that. Owen.
Yeah. So for the micro, I had why, powerful, protect, choking, fingers, and forgive. Or the macro, the big ideas I had, where you hear my mind answers, not my body, and I lay my fingers in the earth for you.
Wow, great. I like that. Lay my fingers in the earth. Really interesting. Both of you have like, they feel a bit dystopian. I think that's probably the sort of the image that we are seeing. It feels like people trying to get out of somewhere, which is really interesting. Okay, great. Hold on to those. What I'd really like to explore, we're going to create some imageries and sort of come up with a sequence from your text. But I want to explore some really useful techniques and just words that we can do when we create these tableaus and images. So we've got the word repetition, so we can use that tool of repeating things. We've got things like texture. If you think about texture, so why don't we, Gaynor, what if you could you show me a movement that feels like moving through water? What would that look like if you were moving through water? Great. Lovely, great. And Owen, what if you could show me a movement that's like sort of moving through sort of something hard and like earthy, so something like gravel. What is gravel? A gravelly movement. Oh yeah. Great, that's really great, thank you. So that's really helpful there, so keep hold of that. So texture is something we can play around with. If we think about elements and things in our lives, it can really help. And even something like water, there's like different water elements. There's like a stream and there's a river and there's a puddle. Like what do those feel like? So think about texture. Also, we've got something effort, and effort is like how you move through the space. So effort could be like, this is a light effort. And this could be something that is a lot more effort, pushing through. That's a lot of effort. So you can play with those different forces. You've got time, which you can play around with, which is how slow or how fast you move. And also we've got something about sort of viewpoints and space. So where you're looking is a really good thing. If I'm looking out of my window, if I'm looking straight to my camera, if I'm looking out that way, they really help with that. Okay, So those are some of the different techniques, and I'll walk you through them, but I just thought I'd say them now so we can keep those in mind for our tableau. So what I'd like you to do is we're going to come up with 3 images, which represents the journey of your free writing. If we start with our journey of free writing. So let's think about the first thing, just sort of home into that first piece, the first section of your writing, and you can have your text with you, that's fine. Think about that first part of your text. If you could represent that in a still image, what would that look like? Great, good. And you're doing something already, which I could have added levels as well, how high or how low you are to the ground and different objects. Great. Okay, now thinking about the second sort of middle part of your text, what image could you, what still image could you do to represent that? Amazing, good. Okay, great. And now thinking about the last bit of your image, what could you, with your text, what image could you create to represent that last bit of your text? Nice, really nice. You guys have both got some really good different images for each one, which is really good to play around with. That's really good. Okay, now what I'd like you to do is go over them several times. I'll stop you. I really also enjoy watching this, because don't be afraid to slightly tweak your images as you go through them. Each journey from beginning to end is going to feel slightly different. So I'd like you to just go through them step by step in your own time, going over and over again those images so that you get them in your body. Great, good. And now I would like you to keep going through them, but what I want you to do is play around with the elements that I told you about just a little bit earlier. So repetition, what happens if you repeat, Owen, you've got this movement, what happens if you repeat going into that before you get into it and add a texture? What about also going there with your arms? How's that person go down? Is it slowly? How do you do it, and then go into your position? So let's play around with the texture, the effort, repetition, time, and I really encourage you to explore. If it doesn't work, throw that away, try something else. Also, you might try with different positions. So you might start off your first image over here. So if I had an image here, then I might go to here and create my other image, and then I might go down to here to create my next image. So play around with those things. Off you go and have a bit of a play. Let's see. Oh, great. Okay, let's stop there. I just want to hear some feedback on what's going on. How did you find that, and how has your journey changed from the beginning? Just want to hear some feedback from either one. Either one of you, just jump in.
I think the movements at the start felt quite separated,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like different words that I thought of, and then all of a sudden I was thinking of like it as like, as you said, like one journey, and then how like the obstacles even within that journey, making a tableau of it. And so like, where am I trying to go, like what is coming in my way, and how can I tweak my body so that I can get to where I want to go. I think that's
yeah, that's really great. Thank you for that, Gamer. Owen.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Like you find out you've got these three isolated positions that you've ascribed to your different images, and then it's kind of, you realize, okay, maybe it's a bit awkward to get from that to that.
Yeah.
Talk about that, so then you try and find some way of working around that.
Yeah.
Maybe find a step in the middle to take you through it.
Yeah, I think you start to find, as you both have just indicated, is that you both start to find a sort of logical reason and a bodily reason to get into those places and why you need to be there. And I think that's what's quite fun, is that they can feel so different, but we can make something out of it. Before we just go on to a text-based, just a little bit more of text stuff, what I really, really want to try is I want to see how the sequences look together on screen. I really enjoy this. I did a lot of this with my members, creating the sequences and then putting them together and playing around with the camera and them. So all I was going to do is I'm going to disappear and just have a watch of them. I'd like you to go around them 3 times so we can see that. And I also, on your third time, sort of just freeze in your end position, whatever that is, on your third time round. But what I just wanted to add, just for framing, so we can play around with how this looks, is Owen, could you come move to your, trying to think about it, in my side, so move a bit more to your left and come closer to the screen. Oh, the other side, there we go, the other side, there we go, yeah. And come closer to your screen so that we can have a bit more of, you can move, we can, as long as we see your full body, but as long as you're closer in and towards that sort of, that half of it. Move over a bit. It doesn't matter if you're in the sunlight, it looks cool, it looks nice. And you can come closer, because we've got, come closer because Gainer's far away. So it's quite nice that we have this play of distance. I'm going to disappear. So in 3, 2, I'll count to 3. You can start, do it 3 times round and then freeze in your final image. So kick it off. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. I wish you guys could have both seen that. It was really quite lovely to watch and quite serene. Even though the text of it was, they were sort of dystopian. It seemed like people were trying to get out of something. It's really nice. Thank you so much for that. What I would sometimes do with creating these tableaus and these images is that I would overlay it with some text. And what I would really like you guys to both do is have a look at your free writing, and from the words you have written, if you can come up with about 4 lines just of text really quickly, that's a bit of a monologue or a poem, whatever that is, with your micro words and your macro. Just to give you a minute to do that as I disappear. It's a very quick thing. Great. If you could just finish off whatever that is. Thank you so much. Could we hear them back? I just want to hear them. Owen, could you just read us what you've got?
Why are you here? My mind answered. Put it out. I lay my fingers in the earth for you.
Great. Amazing. Gaynor, these are lovely.
I saw red. I don't know why they were walking towards me, so I pulled it out as fast as I could. It was dark. Unsure where we are at this point, we've been running for too long, fighting for too long.
Great, good. So what's really nice is that right there, you've sort of can create little monologues from your free writing. You've got some text there. You can also create a dialogue if you're working with someone else. You could work together and sort of create a dialogue with your free writing. But what I'd like to do as our last little bit of the exercise, to just share an example of how we can merge all of this together, sort of a starting point as a stimulus for a devised piece that you might make all together, is I would like that, Gaynor, if you could, me and you will both turn off our cameras, but if you could read your text, and if Owen, you do your sequence. So if you were to go through your sequence, I think it would probably be 2 times round. Maybe let's do 3 to be safe. If you go through your sequence 3 times round, and Gaynor, you start, let him start, and then you join in and read over that when you're ready. So we can both disappear off here and turn off our cameras. Okay, great. Owen, when you're ready.
I saw red. I don't know why they were walking towards me, so I pulled it out as fast as I could. It was dark. Unsure where we are at this point, we've been running for too long, fighting for too long.
Great, thank you, Owen. Thank you so much. If you both come back to the camera, thank you. There was something quite serendipitous about Owen was doing some great sort of, it looked like you were, what is it? It's sort of slow motion juggling, and you were at the bottom of the screen, and Gaynor had said, we're reaching out. And it was sort of like you were reaching out, and it's quite serendipitous. I just thought that was really great to see. And you had a head movement where you grabbed both your forehead and the front of your head, like people would when they're sort of about to attack someone, basically. But you did that sort of stress. It was very stressful movement, and there was something about running, and it just felt so serendipitous, like they matched in there. So that's really great. Thank you so much for doing that. That's just a bit of an example of how I start to devise work. So thank you so much for sharing, for helping me share this technique. I would also use stimuluses sometimes as books, as poems, and we can use that to start our own little adaptation of something when we devise work. So yes, thank you so much for watching, and that is sort of the end of our workshop and devising.